You may have heard of the terrible tragedy last week. A polar bear attacked a woman and her young child, killing them both in a remote Alaskan village. It's the first fatal polar bear attack in Alaska in 30 years. Now, you might be asking yourself, how awful, but what's a local TV news outfit in Portland covering something like that happened 2,000 miles away? Why is this happening? Well, it turns out that environmental reporter Kale has a personal connection to this village where it took place. What can you tell us about that?
Now, I first went to Wales in 2017. I was reporting on a series of stories for the Oregonian because it turns out that Nora, she's a popular polar bear here at the Oregon Zoo. She has ancestry up in this part of Alaska. So back in 1988, an Inupiaq hunter from Wales named Gene Agnabugak, he was out hunting on the sea ice when he fell into a polar bear den and landed on top of the mother bear. He was able to scramble off of her, but she came after him. And here's how he described it in an interview from 2017.
She was ready to pounce or jump or do something. That's when I went and shot her. That's when I noticed the cubs.
Now, after tending to his wounds, Agnabugak arranged for the cubs to be rescued, and one of those cubs would grow up to be Nora's father. So I went there in 2017 to interview Agnabugak, and I've been back twice since then while I was writing a book based on the Oregonian series.
It's so sad, and a very remote area, right?
It really is, and I mean, you really get a feeling for how remote it is just by trying to get there. From Portland, you fly to Anchorage. From Anchorage, you fly to Nome. And then, if the weather cooperates, which it often doesn't, you hop on a much smaller plane out to Wales. Now, the village itself is as far west as you can go on the North American continent. On clear days, you can actually see across the Bering Strait to the Siberian coast. And it really is one of the most unique and beautiful places I've ever had the privilege to travel as a reporter. But it is very, very small. The population there hovers around 150, and to call it a close-knit community doesn't really do it justice. People in Wales hunt for a lot of their food, and they share what they kill. It's tradition there for younger folks to offer the best cuts of meat to their elders whenever they have a successful hunt. So this is a place where everyone doesn't just know each other, they depend on each other.
What went through your mind when you saw the headline about this polar bear attack?
Yeah, I mean, my heart really just kind of sank to the pit of my stomach. I mean, this would obviously be tragic no matter where it happened, but the people I met in Wales were some of the most welcoming I've ever met while reporting. This village is almost 100% Alaskan native, and I went up there as some random white guy asking them about their hunting practices and their culture and climate change, and each of them, without exception, was happy to talk to me.
They sound like they're very welcoming and friendly folks. You mentioned climate change in there. What did they tell you about how things are different?
I mean, their world is changing. People have lived there for millennia, and it's getting warmer there, just like everywhere else. But it's getting warmer much faster there. Experts have said that the Arctic is warming up to 4 times faster than the rest of the world. And a lot of the animals they hunt for in Wales, seals, beluga whales, walrus, they all depend on sea ice. So as the climate warms and sea ice becomes more scarce, it's getting harder for hunters in Wales to provide for their families. Here's how Gilbert Oxerock, he's an elder in Wales, here's how he talked about it in 2017.
The effects of warming temperatures is affecting our hunting. You just learn how to adapt. If you don't learn how to adapt, then you're in trouble.
And it's not just trouble for people. Polar bears also depend on sea ice to hunt. And while we don't know the particular circumstances around this attack, experts have said that as food gets harder to come by for polar bears, the animals are more likely to have negative interactions with people as they become more desperate for food.
So we don't know specifically why the bear was in so close, but it is sort of logical that maybe the ice is melting and so they do get pushed more towards the village?
Yeah, I mean, that's what experts say.
And what happened as far as the attack?
I mean, the details are hard to hear, I gotta say. What we know is that a mother and her child, her name was Summer Miomik, she was 24 years old. She was walking from the school to the clinic in town with her infant son, Clyde Tawazrock III. The accounts I've seen say the bear came up on them in what was near whiteout conditions, so it would have been basically impossible to see. As the attack was happening, several people ran out of the school and tried to get the bear away from Miomik and her son using shovels. But it apparently chased them back to the school, where the principal had to scramble to keep the bear from coming inside. At that point, someone else from the village came and shot the bear, but not before it killed this young woman and her son. It's truly just a terrifying and tragic incident in so many ways.
Yeah. Did you talk to the folks up there, and what did they tell you?
Yeah, I was actually able to get in touch with Gene Agnabugak today. He said, you know, they're dealing with it about as well as can be expected. You know, they are planning to have a memorial service for Meomic and her son on Wednesday. And you just saw they have a GoFundMe page set up for the family, and they've already raised over $21,000.
So what is your takeaway from all this?
I mean, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the grief that they're going through up there. I mean, I'm glad to be able to offer my perspective as somebody who has been to this place that not many people get to go to. And I think it's important that we consider what kind of climate implications there are for this attack. But ultimately, this is not about me, and it's not even about climate change. This is about Summer Meomic and Clydong Tawazrak and all the people who are dealing with their loss right now. So I just have to say that my heart goes out to all of their friends and their family and everyone else in Wales.
And while it's not specifically about climate change, that is one more chapter in this longer narrative of climate change.
It is, and this is kind of an example of something that I've been thinking about a lot, which is that often the people who have contributed the least historically to climate change are often on the front lines of its effects.
Yeah, because they're living right on the edge there. Yeah,
That's right.
So sad. All right, thanks, Kale. We're lucky to have you.